Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another episode of the Liberland Show. I'm your host, Adam J. Carswell, coming to you live with JD, the CEO of Avanti Executive. I've known this guy for a while. I think it's kind of crazy too, the more that I have had time to look back at the last 5 or 6 years that I've known this guy. I think this is the first time I've had JD on a podcast, which is crazy. And I'm thinking, JD, part of that was I wanted to make sure that I was in a position where, and I know you'll chuckle at this, but where I felt worthy to have you on as a guest because you've been so influential in my life, and I found you through someone that many people on this show would be familiar with, but you worked with Jeff Berwick is how I first found you. And you've just transformed so many other people's lives since we've got connected, including my own. So it's great to have you here. For those who are unfamiliar with you, your background, your story, if you could just let everyone know, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Adam, so good to see you, man. And as always, I love all the time that we get a chance to spend together. You're right. It's actually rather shocking when I look back at the journey too. The fact that you and I have not been on a podcast together until now has got my mind blown a little. Um, so my background is in people. My dad used to say to me when I was a kid that there are three types of people in the world: people that like things. These are engineers and mechanics and plumbers and electricians and people that like to deal with things. And then there are people that like experiences. So guides, travel agents, tour agents, the guys that are out, skiing backcountry and doing all the crazy experiences out in the world, and then people who like people. And I am a person who likes people. And so I've known this my entire life. And so from 11 years old, I started studying the mind, both conscious and unconscious. I studied dream interpretation and what it means to actually have sort of a multi-tiered, multifaceted, multi-dimensional consciousness, and what that means, what makes us humans human. And then over time, as I've continued to study that, I became more and more fascinated with what makes the best people the best versions of themselves. So instead of studying problems and hardships and challenges, which I was forced to do via the indoctrination system, uh, other people call it an education system, but I disagree. Um, that through that indoctrination system, I was sort of programmed to believe that I should study the problems that people face. But what I discovered is the more I spent time delving deep into what makes us the best versions of ourselves, the more I realized that not very many people were studying success, peak performance, flow states, and really looking at and role modeling the people who have been the most successful in any industry and in any field across fields. I became super obsessed with that, which got me in contact with what's called an integral theory, which is a theory that encompasses and incorporates all other theories within it. And the reason for that is because I just wanted to bring all of the different fields of study that I was studying over the course of my career into one thing, to better understand, no matter who I meet, where I meet them, and how I meet them, what is the best version of them, and then how to get them there from wherever they are. And I needed to do that by knowing as much as is humanly possible. And so I started studying integral theories, and for the last 20 years, I've created my own. So that's a little background on me.
Yeah, and the follow-up question to that has to be, what is this own theory that you've now created? I'm sure I know it, but I
Yeah.
want to hear. I got to hear you lay it on us.
Okay, so the theory is called vibe. And Vibe is built on the original, or what I would call the core fundamental four schools of psychology, which is behavioral psychology, cognitive psychology, emotive or emotional psychology, and then the psychology of personality. But the building blocks of each one of those four aspects of what it means to be human. And if you want to hear it in language that you can understand, it's being, thinking, doing, and feeling. At any moment in time, no matter where you are, no matter what memory you look back on, you were always all four of these things. There was somebody you were being and how you were being in the moment, what you were thinking, what you were feeling, and what you were actually doing. Hey, was I just sitting still? That's still a doing. You're just doing nothing. You're, I'm doing sitting. Yeah, so there's these four things are always present. Well, vibe stands for virtue, which is the building block of our beingness. So, Adam, I know you to be an integrous, loyal, truthful, responsible, respectful man. Well, these virtues are not really a way of thinking, and they're not feelings, and they're not even what you do. It's more of like an energy, an essence of your character. And so virtues really make up sort of our beingness, thinking and cognition. We call it the intellect in vibe. So virtue intellect, which is for me more than just cognition. It's all of the different intelligences that one possesses. Okay, but this is all about the cognitive mind, the way that we our perspective, our perception, belief systems, our attitude, all of it comes from kind of the way that we structure the blueprint or the matrix of the way we think. Then B in vibe is behavior. This is all about habit formulation, what we do and don't do, how often we do it, what's the level of intensity we do it, what's the frequency and the duration by which we do the thing. There are people who run sprints and then there are people who can run marathons. They're both running, but it's the type of running and all of the different situations and settings that come alongside that doing. Okay? And then, of course, there's emotion, which has been studied ad nauseum, ad infinitum. And so this is the work of Brene Brown. This is the work of Lisa Feldman Barrett. This is all about like your own emotional intelligence, what's called EQ. Well, here's what I discovered that when you try and take any subset or compartmentalized piece of this model out and just look at what a person does, you're missing a huge, huge part of the story of who they are. So by only looking at one field of psychology and not all four, you're actually not seeing the holistic human that's in front of you. And thus, you're limiting your ability to help support them in transforming themselves. You're paying maybe too much attention to the symptom and not to the root of what is creating the prevention of their next step towards their evolution and growth. And so that's my model. It's called Vibe.
Very, very insightful. You used a key word there. You said roots. And I wonder for those tuned in right now who've never taken a look at life through which the lens that you just laid in front of us. I think a lot of the times, if we are having areas that we feel stuck or whatever the word you want to use, uh, it's hard for us to see what that root problem is on our own. But are there any ways that or any best practices to try and take a look at like a kind of like a self-assessment to identify maybe what a root problem you might have is? Is there a way to do it yourself? Yeah.
There is. It's lengthy in time. And the reason for that is because what you're talking about was described by Carl Jung as the shadow. And anybody that knows or has done self-development work or personal development work would have heard this term shadow work at some point in time. And what it is it's a self-imposed limitation that appears or is disguised by any number of other justifications, reasons, excuses, whether it's I grew up in a certain place and that's why, or my mom and dad treated me a certain way, or the government screwed me, which is something I've heard a great deal of in my travels. Okay, or I'm not smart enough, I'm not, whatever it is, that limitation, needing to be able to critically think and explore those limitations, those beliefs, to discover how much of it's actually real and how much of it's a story that you tell yourself. And that takes time. So there's a lot of journaling exercises that you can do. You can actually go and talk to friends, people that you trust, and say, where do you see me limiting myself in life? So you don't necessarily need a professional therapist. You can obviously a professional is better because they're highly educated. They're going to be able to help get you to what is stopping you from that much faster than the average human. But you can actually kind of aggregate Data from all of these different areas of your life, whether it's your business partners, your own children, which most parents don't think about, your romantic interests, friends, people you play sports with on teams. You could even talk to them. Hey, it's just you need to gather data from everywhere around you to see where you might be limiting yourself. And so that's the way I would do it is aggregate from everybody around me. Simple, easy, fast. And if they are good friends of yours, like if they're closely connected to you, they're going to be honored that you would be humble enough and vulnerable enough to ask them for that kind of feedback, which will only deepen your trust and connection at the same time as making you a better person.
Yeah, yeah. It's sort of like I was once advised it's always best to ask for not advice, not for feedback, but for recommendations. Because when you ask for a recommendation, it makes whoever you're asking the recommendation of to kind of feel like they're more going on the journey with you. And so that's what I'm taking from your wisdom there.
Yeah, recommendations and reflections, especially if you look at them and say, I need your help. It's like now they're in it with you. It's like, oh, you've kind of made me what I would call a quick mentor.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I just need your mentorship for the next 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I just need you to tell me what you see that I may not be looking at or may not be seeing. And they feel like they're in it with you. And because of that, they actually want to be a partner. They want to partner with you and help you. And then the coolest magical thing happens. They end up asking you for the same thing in return. They're like, "Hey, can you tell me if is there something I'm missing?" And now your partner's on the path towards your own growth, which is the whole reason for tribe and community in my eyes.
Where do you see I think it's always easy to take a look at where the world is at and talk about why it's the end of the world. I think it's always the easiest route.
It's
Um,
actually neuroscientifically backed
there
that
you
it
go.
is the easiest route to take. It's our fear-based mechanism for survival.
Yeah, how do we combat that? How do we stay optimistic? I would like to know globally where you think there are areas for improvement. Um,
Got another 3 podcast episodes.
right. Which validates what we're saying. So like
Yeah.
I don't want to push that to the side, but I do want to hear from you. How can we all be better equipped to stay on the path of looking at the glass half full too?
Okay, so I'm gonna blow people's minds here. I actually don't think you should look at the glass half full. I think you should be able to see the glass in every way you possibly can. So when you look at the glass, go, yeah, it's half empty. And it's also half full. But it's also cool that it's a glass. And it's really cool that there's something in the glass. I could drink what's in that glass, or I could give that what's in that glass away to somebody else. Like, like we get tied into what we call it in consciousness, a bind, which is I need to see this half full in order to counteract the part of me that sees it half empty, which implies that seeing it half empty is somehow wrong. It's not. It's just another data point. It's another perspective. So seeing it half full or seeing it half empty, you can get caught in that bind of there only being two ways to see the glass. It's like, wait a minute. If I take steps back far enough, I may see other glasses that are full of other things. Hey, this is where I call the opportunist. Hey, the opportunist goes, wait a minute, there's a lot more that I can see this glass with. There's a lot of opportunity here. Hey, is what's in this glass something I even want? Because it could be all the way full of something I don't want to drink. So for me, I'm going to challenge everybody and say, actually, it's about versatility. It's about openness and flexibility of consciousness. So if you have the complete inability to be positive about the world, then of course you want to practice seeing things in a more positive way because you lack that ability. But if you're like, sometimes I see it full. Sometimes I see it empty. I go, cool, which one don't you ever think about? Huh, I never really stepped back far enough to see the bigger picture and not even focus on the glass. The glass doesn't even actually matter. If I step back far enough, the glass doesn't, that's not even important. Because if I back far enough, I find out that the glass is actually about 30 feet from a well. So should I be focusing on the glass being half full or half empty, or should I pitch my tent next to the well? And that's about distance, which can happen inside the mind if you know how to do it. So it's more about critical thinking. It's about being able to actually flexibly utilize your mind for the gift it is, whereas most people experience the mind as using them. It's like, oh, I get trapped in rumination, or I can't get out of this tailspin I get into, and I downward spiral and all the rest. It's like it sounds like your mind is using you when your mind is a tool. Saddle it, guide it, direct it. You know what I mean? Learn to use it.
Yeah, I think in order to do that properly too, and I learned this from you, but you need rituals, you need habits, you need ways to make sure that you train yourself to step back and also to learn what it feels like to step back. I've had a couple of these moments recently, some I shared with you, of just completely relinquishing um, some directions of that I was heading with life, and then by clearing that mind space, it allowed me to see, oh, like you said, there's a well right over there. There's actually 30 more glasses right here. Um, so that's cool, and in my mind, I guess I could share with you in a little bit like what my daily ritual recently has been, which has been super helpful. But I'm also just before I share mine, I want to know what you would recommend to someone listening right now who just needs um, some guidance on pulling themselves out of the matrix, if you will.
Out of the matrix
Meaning
specifically,
taking
or
that.
pulling themselves out
How
of
do
a
you
bad
train yourself?
situation, or
How do you train yourself daily to just take a step back and be aware and observe? I know you can say, "Oh, 10 minutes of meditation," but sometimes that's not helpful enough to get someone going, you know? So,
yeah, no. Um, so first off, the question you're asking is actually one of the biggest reasons I believe we as a species are in deep shit, is because we look for the one thing. We have this mindset of I want the magic pill, I want the one right thing, I want the and I go, yeah, but that would imply that you're such a simple creature. That your life is simple and your lifestyle is simple and the way you love is simple and the way you care is simple and the way you live is simple. And most people are not living a simple life by any stretch of the imagination. And so I'll answer the question as long as everybody that's listening to me right now realizes that I'm giving a simple solution for something that is not simple. We this is called being reductionistic, which is we want to reduce everything down to the simplest thing, but sometimes actually mastery is found in the nuance, which is why I created an integral theory and why it took 20 years. It's like it took 20 years because most people don't want to do the study and do the work for 20 years. When we used to pride ourselves on that as a species, it's like I've been painting for 40 years and we used to honor that. Hey, we don't anymore. Hey,
that
it's like Tinder swipe, swipe left. It became challenging. You know what I mean? And so I'm going to answer the question, and I don't want anybody to think for 2 seconds that this is a one size fits all. And it's too simple. But my answer is question everything. Question absolutely everything, including yourself, including what your parents told you to believe, including what your current government tells you, including what authorities or experts in your own tribe say. Question that. Question what I'm saying right now. Question this. Question why I'm telling you to question everything. And the reason for that is because, in my eyes, a question is the beginning of curiosity and wonderment and awe and being inquisitive. And for me, that step is the beginning of innovation. It's the beginning of progression, of evolution, of transformation. Starts with whatever I'm experiencing or thinking is true in this moment, right here, right now. There has got to be something better than even this. So I'm going to ask a question about this thing I think is what I think is true so that I can discover something even more. And so if you're like, well, my life sucks, question that. Huh, is me believing that my life sucks right now going to make my life suck less? Yeah, no, got it. So you got to, you know what I mean? Like you have to
Yeah.
ask questions about the things you're thinking. And I think that questioning is the root of education,
Hmm.
real education. And I think we've lost that in the world. No more civil discourse. I have to yell at a person who doesn't believe what I believe. I have to tell them they're wrong. It's like, why can't I ask a question? Learn something from them, even if we don't see the world the same way. And so for me, that right there would be something I wish would be put on my tombstone. Get curious, question everything, because it's the beginning of learning.
Yeah, I mean, that's the quote I'm taking from this: get curious, question everything. Hearing you say it, it's like, as a true anarcho-capitalist or whatever you want to label me as, that's what got me here. But there's no end to it. You do it till whenever. We don't even know what question death, right? I was gonna say we do it till we die, but question that. Who knows? Maybe that's the beginning of whatever. So, um, question.
Yes.
What do you and this is tying back to what I was saying earlier too, but what do you see happening in the world right now that gives you again that boost of joy and optimism to see where things are going?
Innovation, creativity, exploration. We people get really, really scared and worried about problems in the world. It's justifiable. Hey, there are issues. Should we be worried about AI taking over the world and on Skynet? And I've watched the podcasts, I've seen the YouTube channels, I keep my eyes on all this stuff. But the other thing that we don't consider in those moments is that every one of the problems we've ever faced as a species, it generally comes with a group of humans who want to solve it. Tinkerers. Hey, if you haven't read the book Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, Nicholas, he talks about the greatest innovations in that have ever occurred in human history have all been done by tinkerers, not massive scientists with huge, double doctorates and all the rest of that. Just men and women inside of a lab or inside of a garage somewhere, just trying to solve a problem. And they're just trying to fix it, and they just keep tinkering and playing with things until they come up with the solution for it. And then like, oh, cool, I figured it out. Hey, I believe in the tinkerers of the world. And I believe that for every problem that pops up, there's going to be someone so curious and so inquisitive and so innovative and so out of the box with their thinking that they're going to come up with a solution for it that we can't even imagine because we're too busy being scared. And they're just not.
Hmm.
They're more curious than they are scared. And that actually spurs them to take action. And the fact that I'm on a podcast about Lieberland tells me that there are other ways of thinking about nationality and and property and government and all the rest of this. I remember when Lieberland wasn't a thing. Somebody dreamed that up. Somebody found that and figured it out and made it happen. Otherwise, you and I wouldn't even be here having a conversation. So I got to believe in the tinkerers. And so that's what brings me a lot of hope and a lot of positivity and a lot of optimism.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you to to summarize the genesis of Liberland, and I might butcher this a bit, President Yedlichka, forgive me if I do, but a definition of a great tinkerer himself, um, basically just looked into uh, international law and where some lines were drawn in the sand and discovered that this little piece of land, according to Croatia and Serbia, that both of them said this is not ours. So therefore, hey, did anyone know there's no man's land in the middle of the Balkans in Europe? Well, Bit Yedlichka did, and 10 years later, here we are. Um, we just had our,
That's a tinker.
you know, yeah. And now there's but for those tuned in right now too, I forgot to even say it yet, but if you are interested in Liberland citizenship or any questions tied to it, shoot me an email, citizenship.adam at liberland.org. But it's just amazing to see how it went from that one tinkering idea to, uh, I think we're over 800,000 applications for citizenship, e-residency, combination of the two. So it's not really it's out of the tinker stage, I think.
Well, and once again, if you tell a tinkerer that they're out of the tinkerer stage, they're going to laugh at you. And it's because they never stop tinkering. They're like, wait a minute, what more can I do with this thing? How more can I expand this? Can I take this into this organization? Can I actually apply it for this thing? Can we start doing trade routes and deals? And like they're just always going to be tinkering with something.
As soon as I said that, I was like, yeah, I mean, there's so much more I know we all want to do here. So yeah, we're still tinkering daily, including this podcast. Um, wow. So 20 years of doing this work. What were you doing before you decided you wanted to commit your life to, as I would say, becoming a master Jedi?
Um, Studying, playing. I think it's another thing that we as a species have lost a lot of is this idea of play. And it takes us back to tinkerers again. If you see them in their workshops, they've got the music on, they've got the machines turned on, they've got tools everywhere. They are adult children. Okay? And all they're doing is just allowing their inner child to be the thing that's taking the forefront for this period of time every day. And they're just in there playing. And what is play if not experimentation? It's guess and check, but I don't know, I'd call it in a much more open way. And so before I decided to become a master of anything, it was like, what do I want to do? What's real for me? What's true for me? What's alive for me now? And Adam, I'm blessed, okay, quite privileged in that I had great teachers and the right friends and the right situations show up. There was a lot of hardship that I dealt with and a lot of challenge and a lot of real tough stuff. But how do I not see those as opportunities when they gave me or granted me the ability to choose this path? It's like I got to be grateful for all those moments that I went through. Otherwise, I wouldn't be the man that I am. So hardship or blessing both contribute to that. And I think that a lot of adults get to a place in their lives where they see a crisis occur, whether it's, something from the government, which you and I both know. We've met a lot of people in this community who have dealt with a lot of that stuff, or their own family, during COVID,
Yeah.
their own families telling them they're fucking crazy and they don't want to have anything to do with them. And you're unvaxxed and, like being basically exiled from even their own families. They go through that crisis and who they have been, their self-identification, up until that moment in time gets shattered. And we go into a shame spiral thinking that we should know what to do next. It's like, I should know what my path is, and I should have my mission, and I should know what my purpose is. And I'm like, your whole life just got rocked. Hey, back to the drawing board. You got to actually go back to being a child again.
Mm.
Because when you were a child, you didn't have your identity. So, how did you approach developing your identity when you were a kid? You played. started conversations, met new people, went and tried sports, played an instrument. You tested. And so most adults think that they shouldn't be a child. And so they stop themselves from actually going back into the best, most holistic, most healthy, most sacred space to rediscover their next identity. And that's play. It's like, go try a bunch of stuff again. Who you were is gone. Etch a sketch. Shake that thing and start drawing with your knobs again. Okay? And just go back out to play. Try new communities, go to different events, meet new people, read different kinds of books. Just play for a little while and experiment until you find what your new truth is. And so that for me is the thing I did beforehand that I think humanity's lost. It's like I just played for a while until I found my thing.
Yeah, what's running through my head too is if anyone listening right now is wondering, well, how, like, what do I do? How do I just go play? Um, Maybe it's a sign of the times, but now what you can do is just again pull up Chat GPT, Grok, Claude, whatever your preference is. I know,
Literally have a playmate available 24/7.
and just say, hey, for example, one thing that I'm looking forward to playing with pretty soon here, actually, as an example, is I make music, and there's some new AI DJ tool that a lot of old school DJs, from my observation, this is normally how it goes with innovation, right? Too, the older school can't stand it. And the reason being, like, the bar to entry has just gotten even lower, basically. And
Way lower.
I find that, like, personally, as someone newer in my music career, fascinating. What's this new tool that all the, boomers of dance music are upset about? And I have it on my schedule. Like, I'm gonna go play with this new tool and see what I can get out of it. And uh the way I uncovered what this tool was, because I had only heard about it. I pulled up Chat GPT while I was driving yesterday, and I'm like, man, am I in a movie right now? I'm like talking to whatever this voice is on Chat GPT. I'm like, what's the thing that everyone's getting upset about in dance music right now? And I just had like this 10-minute conversation with my robot on what I'm going to play with next, So, we got a lot of freedom thinkers, probably non fans of AI here on the show too. But I mean, I got to be honest that if you need help getting started playing, don't underestimate the technology at our fingertips now, is my point.
Innovation has always been true for humanity. And so the blockchain and decentralized currencies were built on technology that originally started in the Matrix. And then they innovated, they tinkered and took it out and created something else. So I don't think that I don't believe that AI is going to stay Matrix. That somebody's going to create a large language model that exists on a blockchain that's decentralized and can't be controlled or hacked, that all of us will be able to use who do prefer to be sovereign citizens and sovereign minded. So it just depends on your perspective. And this is the thing that if I could burn this message into everybody that's listening right now, free your mind and the rest shall follow. To give you a little hip hop, little hip hop music reference. Okay, it's you've got to learn to think. So study critical thinking, explore biases, fallacies. You've got to free your mind. Otherwise, you're gonna bind yourself into a lack of a flexibility, openness, and an adaptation. And in a world that's changing faster than I have ever seen the world change, I mean, quantum leaping in tempo, to use another music term for you, quantum leaping in its tempo of change, those who can adapt thrive. Okay? And so if you're busy going, no, screw AI, this shouldn't happen, oh, da, 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 da," you're already limiting yourself. You're already done. Okay, you're actually limiting your ability to adapt in a world that is requiring more adaptation. So for me, this takes us back to what you shared earlier on the podcast, acceptance, acceptance and surrender. You had a couple of pathways that were available to you that you were exploring. They didn't go the way you wanted them to go. That's play. You had to try them. You know what I mean? So you tried them. They didn't go the direction you wanted. Cool. If you get pissed at yourself or angry at the people that were involved in it or whatever, you're not looking for the next opportunity. So you're shooting yourself in the foot after having shot yourself in the foot. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I shot myself in the foot. I think the right thing for me to do now is to shoot the other one. It's like, no, 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 no. And that means you just have to be able to accept what is out of your control and work with what is. And your mindset, the capacity that you develop, your own skill sets, your education, the vision you have for the future are all within your control. And that's what we call the five domains: vision, education, skill, capacity, and mindset. These five things are always within your control. So if you can explore all five of these, you can become adaptable. Every day is another opportunity to become more adaptable. And then you can do whatever you want. Because for me, sovereignty and adaptability go hand in hand. Personal belief.
Yeah. Thank you for, as I predicted, dropping bombs on the show here today. We could keep going if we wanted to, but for the sake of the Liberland show and keeping it tight, we're gonna bring it down for a landing here. Guys, let us know in the comments. Do you want to have JD back on the show? Let us know what you thought. Any key takeaways? Drop them down below. JD, what's the best way for anyone listening to follow up and get in touch with you?
If they want to, you guys can check out some of the stuff that we're creating over at Tactical Evolution, which is on Instagram and on YouTube. Or if you are a part of a business and you're looking for more executive coaching or peak performance stuff, then you can find us at avantiexecutive.com.
There you go. All that information is going to be below in the description, so check it out. And again, if you're considering becoming a citizen of Liberland and we haven't communicated yet, shoot me an email, citizenship.adam@liberland.org. Thank you all for investing your most valuable resource with us here today, your time. We'll catch you in the next episode. JD, thank you as well.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to the next time.
You got it. All right, everyone. And all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.